All right, race fans, we are back at you again, episode 62 of the One to Go show. I'm Ryan Aho. That is the one and only Bert Lehman. How you doing, Bert?
I'm doing really good tonight. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Racing is back in full force. There's a lot happening, and I'm excited. I think I've already watched several races over the weekend, and a bunch of the people that we know have already been turning some laps, so it's been pretty cool. And let's go ahead. Let's start with that. Let's start with the weekend review, and let's maybe start with a race that I didn't really know anybody down there. I've watched a couple of the guys, but we'll start kind of on the eastern side. We'll go over to Talladega. I don't know what annual race it is, but they have the Ice Bowl down there every year, and I've actually been to that track, Bert, over in Talladega. I went to here's how uninformed I was. I went to a NASCAR race, and we decided, literally, we jumped in the truck and we were going to go get ice. We're driving on the road, and I'm like, dude, there's a dirt track. Like, there's cars there. What are they doing? Like, I had no idea. That's how oblivious I was, right? And we pulled in there, and the guys that I were with, they're like, well, we want to go back and party. I'm like, well, hell, drop me off. I'm going to watch dirt track racing. And I ended up walking back to the campground, and it was really not that far of a walk. The problem is they had all the gates closed to everything, so I had to go around everything, and it ended up being like 5 miles. That was a lot. I did not really like that walk back, but that was my first experience there, and it was quite unique. Let's face it, you're in Alabama, and all the stereotypes we hear up in the north about Alabama, they rang true. Every single one of them. It was crazy. But did you get a chance to watch any of the racing action from the Ice Bowl?
I just watched the super late model feature. I mean, we've discussed races like this in the past on the show. I mean, I won't take credit for this. You wrote down Saturday show was 13 and a half hours and Sunday show was 12 and a half hours. I mean, come on. You're going to have over 20 hours invested in, I mean, that's just
Puka is really mad.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, Puka is really upset that he didn't go down when he saw the fact that it was that long of a race program. He's like, man, I should have went, and I think he's going to probably look at, well, not going again next year. Dude, 352 race cars, 352 cars, 8 classes. Honestly, Bert, where does promoters get an idea in their head that that's actually entertaining, right? I mean, I've always heard that the more is better, but oh my goodness, like there's nothing good about that. Like way too long, drawn out, it wrecks the track. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, what's your thoughts on so many classes, so many cars at a big special?
I don't know. I mean, we've talked about this a lot on the show, and it just seems like tracks down in that part of the country, this is what they do. I mean, they have these specials where they race during the daytime. They have like 80 classes, and then they have these drawn out shows. The track is black from top to bottom. I mean, let's be honest, there was no passing in the late model feature. I mean,
minimal.
I mean, Michael Page started on the front row. He did fall back to third or so. So, I mean, he did have to work his way back up to first. But, I mean, if you weren't starting near the front, you weren't going to finish near the front.
And really, Sam Seawright should have won that race. I mean, he's a young gun. I've watched him a bit. He's pretty quick. There was a race where I think McDowell and Ricky Weiss got first and second. Seawright got third both nights at that deal. So he's a talented driver, but let's face it, it was one lane of rubber on the bottom, and he went up to the top to try to drive around lap cars, and zing, 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 cars went right by him on the bottom, and he snuck back into second on a restart. But that's where you can tell years of experience tells you get on the bottom, stay on the bottom, and a lack of patience, lack of experience maybe cost him that win. Other than that, not too exciting as far as late model racing. But, let's talk about this, right? Because it's not just down there. Up in our area, the Wissota region, or not even the Wissota, I mean, even Cedar Lake, for example. And nothing against these tracks, but you look at some of these events they're having, I know like the Legendary Opener, Legendary 100, I believe there's 10 classes of cars. Why? Is it like, well, we just want to include everybody? Well, that's all fine and good, but it's not entertaining. Fans do not want to sit through that. It's just craziness. And I don't know how many times we got to beat a dead horse with this deal, but that's why they cut out all the extra stuff. See, I talked to a friend of mine. Her and her better half, Nolan. I shouldn't say better half. I'll get in trouble for that. Other half, I'll call it that. They run the Devil's Lake Speedway, and we're talking about the extra stuff, right? Out of car introductions, carrying the checkered flag, victory lane interviews, all that type of stuff that adds to the show, right? Kind of the entertainment value. And her initial response was, I hate that stuff. I hate it. I'm like, why would you hate that? Like and everybody's got a different opinion, and that's all fine and good. So I'm like, just want to get to the races, and everybody's got a different viewpoint. Myself, like, we'll take the USA Nationals, for example, Bert. I could honestly, I could go there. I could see all the extra stuff, the atmosphere, literally watch them do the drivers' introductions, and then I could leave and go watch the race on TV, and I would be perfectly content, right? Because that extra stuff to me is amazing. That's what makes, I mean, let's face it, more people, well, Bobby Pierce and Turbo was a big talk this year, but for years past, right? You know, one of the biggest, most talked about things at the USA Nationals was the introductions. I mean,
Right.
that's kind of what. So now the problem is when you have 7, 8, 9, 10 classes of cars, and you got all these cars, and you're trying to get the show run in. They either have to just eliminate all of that stuff and just get right to the race, right? But then they're only appealing to the diehard race fan. Like, that's the only person that is really getting value out of that. Or B, right? They still have to do that stuff, and you end up with a 10, 12-hour show that nobody wants to be part of. So I'm a firm believer of really reducing the amount of classes of cars at these shows, and getting it to where you have like a full entertainment venue. And I just don't understand why that seems to be the trend. Because, I mean, if you talk to everybody, if these promoters would actually take time and talk to all the fans, I can't imagine there's many people that would be like, oh man, there's 10 classes of cars. That's awesome. I just don't get it. You're a fan. I want to see your viewpoint on this. What's your thoughts?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, you mentioned that, by having all these classes and eliminating all the other stuff, that you're really only catering to the diehards. But when you have a 13 and a half hour show, are you really catering to the diehards? I mean, I'm a race fan, but I'm also a diehard, and I don't want to sit through a 13 and a half hour show. I mean, that's, I just don't want to do it. I mean, I never promoted a track, but I mean, I know you've dabbled in that a little bit. I mean, could the reason for all these classes be they're looking for money at the back gate to try to get more money?
It is. That is part of it, because, when I was helping run different tracks, certain boards would be like, well, hey, we got to have Hornets and Pure Stocks because you don't have to pay them very much, and they're going to bring in not only themselves, their crew guys, some family and stuff that comes to watch them. So that's an extra $500, $1,000, $1,500. Now, the problem is that the problem with that, Bert, is they're focusing on, like, how can we make more money at the back gate rather than promoting, right, and getting fans there and capitalizing on more people on the front gate. And this just brings me back to the fact, all of these special events in all of racing today, right, everybody's trying to figure out, how do we get more race fans to the racetrack? Okay.
Well, 13 and a half hour show isn't going to do it.
You're absolutely right. I totally agree. But the fact is, if you take like a big pie of all the people in an area, right, only a small percentage of that group is actual race fans, right? So if the pie is this big and you got a triangle, and that's like your race fans, their goal shouldn't be getting that whole triangle of people there. It should be making that triangle bigger. Right? It should be taking the amount of people that are in an area and increasing the amount of people that actually are race fans. And you're exactly right. Things like this don't do the sport any favors. No matter how good the racing is, nobody wants to sit there that terribly long. And I think some things have to change there. I want to be a part of that. I'm excited about it. Again, Michael Page, 5th straight Ice Bowl win down there at Talladega. Congratulations to him. He ran really well last year. We watched him. There was a race, I don't know if maybe it was Sonoya, Georgia, or one of them down there where there was some stout competition, and he came from pretty deep and won that. Kind of, I really hadn't heard of him before that, but being able to watch him a little bit on dirt, he's pretty impressive. And even against, no matter who's there, he was super impressive. So hats off to him. Good to get racing underway down there. But there was some racing out west, right?
Well, just hold on. A couple of things. I mean, you mentioned 352 cars. I mean, I was looking on Facebook the other day, and somebody had taken a video. It appeared that they actually had the pits along a highway.
Yeah.
Cars, I mean, you would unload your car and park alongside a highway, and that's where your pit spot was.
You know what's crazy about that, Bert, is I went down to Montevideo to the Fiesta City Speedway. They had a fair race, and we parked along the road there. That's where everybody had to park, but they closed the road, right? And I saw the video that you're talking about, and there's cars driving by, and like the backs of these race cars are like right actually at the road, right. And they didn't even close the road down. I'm like, that's not cool. Like that was interesting to me. Like I've seen it where they've closed the road down, but to leave the road open. Hey, and there was one more thing there that happened.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I mostly watched, but I caught this on Facebook. Otherwise, honestly, with that many classes, I probably wouldn't even have scrolled through. I was just kind of more interested in the late model, the super late models, so to speak. But in the 604 late models, there was an altercation partway through the race, and there was a restart, and Cody Overton was involved, but he didn't really cause it. He was kind of in it, but they come down into turn one, and bam, everybody spins out. There's a car on top of another one, and this Buddy George guy, he ended up being the car on the bottom of the pile in Jimmy Elliott. Now, I don't know who these guys are. They must be locals from down there. Bert, his car's up on top of this guy, right? And I got the video footage here. It might be kind of hard to make out, but you guys can get the gist of what's happening. Well, this guy gets out of the car, and he's going completely bonkers, right? Quite frankly, looking at his car, I don't even know if it was that bad. Like, there was a car on top of it. I don't know if it was that bad, but he's, like, swinging at this guy and screaming and hollering and just get blown out of proportion. Next thing you know, a golf cart shows up. A cop gets off. They throw this dude in the handcuffs, and they escort him out of the property. Bert, what stuck out to me is the guy that he was yelling at didn't even cause the deal. Like, when he looks back at this, he's got to be like, yeah, that's my bad. I mean, so congratulations. I want to congratulate Buddy George. Congratulations on winning the Moron of the Week award from the One to Go show, because it's one thing to go after a guy that did cause it, but then you're going after and swinging at a guy that didn't even cause the accident. Dude, what an idiot. What did you see that deal?
I did not. I just read the story about it. I did not see the actual incident or the aftermath. So I'll be watching this episode just like our fans do, just to see that.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. My buddy Jeff sent me. Actually, Jeff, our late model expert, sent me that. That's all. I wouldn't even have known about it. I think I saw it on Facebook after that, but Jeff sent me that, and then he says, hey, here's where it was at, so I was able to catch it. And then he pointed out the fact, he goes, I don't know why he was mad at the wrong guy. And then when you listen to it, and you won't be able to hear it because we're jabber-jawing away here on the show, but you heard a lady in the background say, that's the wrong guy. Like, the fans are like, it's like, oh man, craziness. So that's the Talladega Ice Bowl. It's I can't imagine that they've always had that many classes and cars there. It's trending that way. Hopefully this is just a phase, so to speak, and we can kind of get back to it. Now, Now let's head west. And there's 2 events, and we'll start with the IMCA event, and then we'll get to the one that I think you and I are probably the most excited to talk about. But over at the Kokopah Speedway, and we've been hearing a lot about this place because they've been having quite a few shows. A lot of them have been streamed, and IMCA TV streamed this one. They had the Winter Nationals down there. I got a couple things I want to touch on. Bert, anything stick out to you, from what you've read up on or maybe seen down at Kokopah?
Well, I mean, my first feeling is, and maybe it's just because, as you refer to me as a late model guy, how overshadowed the IMCA Winter Nationals are, with the Wild West Shootout starting, the Chili Bowl starting this week. I really haven't seen much buzz about the Winter Nationals at all. But I mean, they've run 4 events so far. There's a few drivers from the Wissota area down there. They've had some really good car counts. I mean, first night they had 161 entries. Second night, 161, 164, and 156 entries amongst 4 classes only. So, really good car count, and
4 classes.
4 classes, yeah. Modifieds being the premier class of the show, and they've had like low 60s for mod counts, which is really good. But Casey Arneson won on January 8th, so he's from the Dakotas. So some of our viewers and listeners may be familiar with him. I had the chance to interview him several weeks ago, and he's seems like a down to earth guy.
Didn't he win the Dakota Classic Mod Tour this past year as well?
Either him or his brother. I mean,
there's 2 of them. They're both fast. Yeah. I couldn't remember which one won it.
Yeah.
And I saw Joanne posted the night that he won, I believe, was a year to the date when Grinder Don Gumpke, who was a promoter up at the Jamestown Speedway, involved with that. He had Dakota Engine Builders, I believe it was called. It was a year to the date that he passed away, and that's all a pretty tight-knit group. So she was pretty emotional about the fact that Arneson won, because they were all tight. So she thought that was pretty special. So congrats to him on that.
So, yeah, and Kenny Wallace is racing down there. I saw he's not doing the greatest. Let's see, he 23rd one night, 16th another night, 10th and 11th. So not setting the world on fire. I'm a little surprised he's at an IMCA show. Because I don't associate him with IMCA racing as much as some other drivers.
He races anywhere, anytime. I mean, he's ran USMTS, UMP, IMCA. He's ran Wissota, asphalt, dirt. It don't matter. Heck, he's even going to Alaska. I saw that he's going to run a show up in Alaska, which is
wow.
Cool. Yeah, he's like, I've never even been to Alaska, so he's going to go race. And one of the stars of the sport, so to speak. He's not always that guy that's winning and running up front, but he's so electric. ADHD on steroids maybe, but he's just so entertaining and just a positive outlook and kind of fun. I always watch pretty much every day he does a Facebook Live, and I try to watch those because most of the time he's pretty darn upbeat. So kind of a pretty cool way to start the day out for a race fan.
And then there's another driver racing down there that is familiar with a lot of people, I'm sure, and that's Dave Kane. If you want to expand on
I believe, and I don't know this for sure, but I think he's in a Devil Bliss car, and I don't know if it's the one that Bloomquist ran or not. I tried finding out that information, but he's running for Zane. I think Devil Bliss is his name, or Devablis, or I don't know how exactly you say it, but that guy's pretty darn good down there. He's had some struggles, I think he had a flat tire one night, just things not quite going right. It'll be interesting to see if he can take them first 4 nights and everything that he learned, different tire deal, and see if he can maybe apply that to the final 3 nights. And I'd like to see that, for us, it's the familiar 2C, but I think it's a 12Y as he's running down there. Like to see him maybe sneak off a couple podium finishes there in the final nights of the Winter Nationals.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the information that I've gathered regarding that, the shows down there for that.
Yeah, and there's a few other Northern guys who talked about it last week, and notably, just kind of looking at the results, Brandon Bombardo, he went down there actually with our friend Ben Crookton from Dirt Race Central. He actually went along. He's kind of shooting for with IMCA TV and doing some behind the scenes stuff, and he's been in the top 5 in that IMCA hobby stock about every night and running very good. He led right till the last lap. I mean, literally the last corner, a guy snuck by him from deep in the field, and kind of knocked him out of the winner's circle. But he's right up there in the point standings for that deal. Tim Gonska is also down there. He won that points deal. He's a little bit not quite running as good as he did last year. So it'll be pretty cool to see if maybe Brandon Bombardo can sneak out a feature win down there. Good luck to them guys the rest of the way. Now, Bert, this is the one that we all want to talk about. This is the one we're excited about. This is a show that Ben Shelton, he has done just an amazing job promoting this deal from the beginning to the end, all the little aspects of everything, a lot of the little extra stuff, and just great. It's the Wild West Shootout down at the Arizona Speedway, and man, it's been a good first couple nights. And why don't you touch on just what did you get out of it? What do you want to share from what you've seen so far? Because both of us have watched, both the events. What kind of stuck out to you?
Well, what stuck out to me was, well, first of all, I thought that I was going to be really close already for Davenport winning 3 features like I had predicted. I thought he was going to have 2 there, but definitely Davenport and Ricky Thornton Jr. are the class of the field right now. I don't think any of the other drivers. They're just definitely the class of the field right now. I mean, they finished 1-2 both nights. Just flip flop from one night to the next night. And a driver I've been impressed with is Cody Loney. He's from California. The reason I'm impressed with him and the name stuck out to me was I interviewed him several years ago at 141 Speedway when he raced at the Clash at the Creek in the racing on IMCA Modified. And I remember interviewing him. And so when I heard that name being announced, like that sounds familiar. Then they said he was from California. And yeah, that's where that guy's from. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool to watch somebody from that far away race that you've interviewed. So that's kind of cool. Surprised that Chad Simpson's not running very well there. I mean, that's kind of stuck out in my mind. I mean, he's run in the front, but then he's faded out of transfer spots. Jimmy Mars was in a transfer spot the first night, and then not only did he miss the transfer spot, but he was way back then. But
yeah, he was running second, wasn't he, in the heat? And I don't know what happened, but
third. He was running the final transfer spot he had.
Yeah, and then he spun out, didn't he? It basically kind of kept going, and then it just wrecked the rest of the night. He didn't make the show the first night, and
right.
That was. And he would have been in the show. I don't exactly know what happened there. I don't know if there was contact made. Was he side by side battling for third, or was he side by side in third, kind of battling for second?
I think I don't know if he was battling for second. He was solidly in third, but I think somebody was challenging him. And then he got squirrely or jumped the cushion or something. And then he tried to fight back, and then he got sideways in the next corner, got sideways, and then actually ran into Jake Tim a little bit, not real hard, but there was contact between the two.
And Jake Tim's a guy, Bert, that's had some issues. The car keeps shutting off on him. Like he's going out there to make a lap, and the car's shutting off. I don't know if it's ignition or fuel related, but he did rattle off a second place finish. In the heat race the second night, so he's got a pretty fast hot rod. Hopefully they can get the mechanical woes figured out.
Yeah, and I guess one thing that surprised me was in the other divisions, there's a lot of Wisconsin and Minnesota drivers down there. I knew there were some going down there. I didn't realize it was going to be this many. So, I mean, it's kind of cool to be able to I mean, let's be honest, root for drivers from your area because you want to see them do well.
Yeah, and it's kind of been that way. The mods and the X mods down there have been, I think the X mods deal 3-4 years in a row has been won by a Wasota car, right? Skeeter Esty won it last year. Cole Searing won the series the 2 years prior. Dustin Strand won the mod series last year. So they've represented very well. And, kind of looking at it here, just kind of breaking things down for the fans. Night number 1, 59 late models. Would have been 60, but our friend Don Shaw, who has already raced down south, he's sponsoring the event, for goodness sakes, coming down with COVID. And he's been kind of laid up and kind of battling that deal. He wasn't able to race the first couple nights. So, Don, best wishes to you. Hopefully he can get through that deal quick enough maybe to get back in the car to end out the series here. We'd like to see that. Heck, he's down there, but I think he's staying in the hall or just staying away from people. So hopefully he can get back after it. Like you said, Jonathan Davenport, a guy that, you can call, I mean, he struggled. For him, he struggled. Yeah, he's third, I believe, in the Lucas Oil points. But, if you talk to him about 2020, he'd be like, no. I mean, other than his shining moment when he kind of got the last lap win there at Knoxville, he really didn't have a Jonathan Davenport type year, but he looked pretty darn good. I mean, he jumped out right away that first night, and he kind of put a beat down on the boys. Ricky Thornton Jr., he's poised, in my opinion, I'm predicting it right now, to be the 2021 Lucas Oil Late Model National Rookie of the Year. He is on fire. Third place, a guy that we talked about, Bert, that ran very well there last year. Brian Shirley, Squirrel, looking really good down there. Now, in the modifieds, the first night, the feature, Bert, I mean, there was 66 cars, but really it was a bunch of garbage. I mean, there was nobody good. First place, you got Dustin Strand, the 2020 series champ, NLRA champ. I mean, he's kind of a nobody. Second place, you had Lucas Schott, USRA national champ last year. He ain't very good. Third was the reigning Wasota national champ, Shane Sobraski, our regional driver of the year. He kind of junk. Fourth, Rodney Sanders, the 2020 USMTS national champ, I believe 5 times. Nobody good. Okay, that's sarcasm. For those of you going, what do you mean no good? Okay, I'm kidding. That's sarcasm. Hopefully you get that, right? You're going to get that with me. But, man, what a stacked field of modifieds. And Dustin Strand looking good, getting that win on night number 1. And in the X mods, there's been some pretty darn good racing in the X mods. And I know Bert was like, get these things off the track. There's a bunch of yellows here. But both of them ended up being some pretty good finishes. And night number 1, another Wasota guy, Jory Berg. He came from 11th, Bert, and he drove to the front in that deal and won night number 1, a guy from up in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Second that night, Brock Grunwald, and it got kind of dicey at the end. Grunwald got pretty darn aggressive there, trying to look like he maybe was not afraid to move the guy out of the way for the win, but he was a little too aggressive, and Berg got back by him. But all in all, a pretty good finish. And Parker Hale, who he runs regularly, Bert, over at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway and at Deer Creek, he got third that night, and he said, man, I saw them guys kind of rough, and I thought maybe they'd take each other out, and I'd sneak to the win. But a good feature that all 3 features really that first night were pretty good. Now, night number 2, the late models, 57 of them. I didn't really catch to see. A couple of them weren't there, but like you said, they flip-flopped, right? Ricky Thornton Jr. won. Now, Davenport, I think he started third row, Bert. He got the lead right away.
Fifth, I believe.
Yeah, and he got to the top. He drove right to the front. But then they got into lap traffic, and it's like, I don't know if he was not aggressive enough or what was going on, but he just kind of fell into like a trance following the lap cars. And Ricky Thornton Jr. snuck by him, and he looked really darn good that night. And then Mike Marlar, who ran pretty good the first night, I think he was in the top 5. He got third. Brian Shirley was up in the top 5 as well. So it kind of rubbered up there. Not kind of, it did. I mean, it rubbered up for the late model deal. And the modified zone. Now, what's interesting to me, Bert, is it rubbered up, right? But then the modifieds and X mods come out and they kind of run all over the racetrack. So it was a little interesting. Maybe it's the narrower tires. Maybe they threw some marbles up on the groove. I'm not really sure, but they weren't locked down to a groove. Like the fat tire cars, if it rubbers up, it's over. The modifieds and X mods, they were able to move around and boy, what a finish in the modifieds. Jake Gallardo, Rodney Sanders, they were 1 and 2, and Gallardo actually. Sanders was quicker. Sanders was right on him, and he kind of found something on the bottom of 1 and 2 there, Bert. And Gallardo said, "My pit guys moved me," because that's the benefit to having that guy signaling you, right, telling you high, low, kind of what to do. He saw his pit guys, and they said, they told him, get to the bottom in 1 and 2. He did, and that was it. Sanders was there. They get into lap traffic. Last lap, Sanders throws a death slide, clears them. Gallardo crosses him over, beats him to the line. Exciting finish there. And Shane Sabraski rolled off another podium finish with a third. He's looked really good. Just a little bit off the pace to win, but he's there. I feel like he's getting quicker and quicker. And then in the X mods, 49 of them, and none other than Shane Sabraski, his first win of the year. And Bert, like you said, hey, number 1 on his quest to 50, right? And with a full season, I think it's going to be more than 50.
I think you need to get a counter because, like you said, last year we were counting to see if he would get 50. So I think I'm a baseball fan, and I remember this from when I was a kid. I don't know if you remember Buddy Biancalana, shortstop for the Royals, 1985. I mean, he was all defense and no hit. But anyway, David Letterman had a Buddy Biancalana counter as he chased Pete Rose's all-time hits.
Nice.
So each night Biancalana got a hit, he would hit the counter and add a hit. So I think you need to get a counter like that for Sabraski.
There we go. There's number 1. I'm not going to hit myself 50 times. I'm not going to do that. Well, a counter would be a better idea. But I believe that's 706 in his career. And they were pumping that up. I'm so impressed, Bert, with the announcers down there, Ben Shelton and all the other guys that are involved with that, because they really have done their homework. And as a fan, I so appreciate that. Like, these guys, they have taken time to get the sponsors, get the backstory, what they've won, past champion here. And it's so entertaining for me as a fan listening to these guys. I mean, we're talking about the best of the best. I mean, they leave no stones unturned in the way that they're promoting the drivers and hyping everybody up. Man, it's been a really good show. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. And the rest of the way through, Preston Carr, he got second in that X mod feature. And quite honestly, Bert, I think he was a little quicker than Shane. He was kind of getting pretty dicey coming off 4, crossing. He was kind of doing that diamond, pulling up next to him. And the bottom was a pretty good in 1 and 2. The yellow come out, and then Shane adjusted his line. Kind of wondering, he always has a signal guy, so I'm wondering if somebody moved him a little bit, which I'm thinking probably happened, and it should. But Preston Carr, a good run for him. But kind of the fun thing there, the third place finisher, a guy by the name of Rob Mosley, 22nd to 3rd, advanced 19, hard charger on the event. Did you catch his interview?
Yes, I caught his interview, and yeah, I sent you a text after the interview was over. Yeah, it not every driver can and this is quoting him, don't bring any hate mail to me, thanking his old lady at home for letting him go there and wishing that she was there.
Yeah, so drivers, if you got a sack, what I want you to do is next time you win in victory lane and the wife's not there, don't say, hey, I want to thank by your name. Just say, hey, I want to thank the old lady, at home. I dare you to do that, right? I want to see how that works out for some of you. And the other thing you said, and it was cool because it was a totally unpolished but aware interview. He's like, man, when I went out there, he's like, I'm starting 22nd. My shit's probably gonna get wadded up. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like immediately, like he's like, dude, this ain't NASCAR. You're okay. We're not kicking you out. You're fine, right? In fact, and there's memes about it already and all that stuff. Who cares, right? But it was unpolished is what it was. You could tell he's not a public speaker, but he had fun with it. And really the crowd enjoyed that. So Rob Mosley, heck of a job. And he's not the prototypical racer look. He's the it would be Puka. Well, got the
It's
beard
not
look, so
even
kind of
Puka.
yeah, I was gonna say he's got Puka's hat, right? So he's got the flat build stuff, but then he's kind of got the long. I mean, he's a unique individual, but kind of like another version maybe of Tyler Carpenter type deal, right? He's kind of got that his own look, but you can tell that he has fun doing it. And what a heck of a run, right? 22nd to third, that was a stout run for him right there. Now, a couple other things that stuck out on that event, Bert, is they had the Pro Power dash. I thought that was pretty cool touch, right? They just an addition to what they have. I know at East Bay they have the strawberry dash and all that, but Pro Power ponied up some money and they give $1,000, and I think it's 2,500 total, and they spread it out between the six. And for drivers that are unfamiliar, how do you qualify? I believe it's the next six that would have made the show. So like you had X amount come out of the B, and if there's two Bs, then it would be the next couple out of each of them to get six cars in it. In the winner, they get $1,000 cash, or they can eliminate that and say, you know what, I'm not going to take the cash. I'm going to start at the back of the A main. Now, Bert,
I have to pose a question to you. You've often on this show said that racers aren't very smart. Okay, you get $1,000 for winning the dash, or you can take at the end of the field in a 5,000 to win feature. So there's no way that you're getting $1,000 unless you advance up into the feature.
No, you're exactly right. Okay, so I'm looking at it here. Okay, I got the purse in front of me, Bert. Fourth place in the late models is $900. Fourth. Okay, now it is 500 from 24th all the way up to 10th place. Okay. All right. Literally, financially, it is an absolute no-brainer to take the $1,000 because A, you're getting $1,000, but if it's a 40 lap A main or 50, I think it's been 40, right? You're gonna burn off 2 tires, maybe 3, for sure. So it doesn't. So you can take 1,000, like you are plus 1,000. Or you can automatically pretty much assume there's no way it is going to be extremely difficult for somebody to start 25th and get up into the top even 10, right? So you can pretty much count on the fact that you're taking a $500 less check automatically, plus, right, you're going to burn off 3 additional tires and some fuel. So let's call that another $500. So, and that's if you don't wreck anything. Right? No, I mean, it's not counting laps on the engine or oil changes or whatever. So you're automatically literally saying, you know what? I'm willing to take $1,000 and just go play. All right. So financially, like my buddy Jeff Krause says, kid, take the 1,000, right? Financially, it is a no-brainer. I mean, it is absolutely common sense, math-wise, numbers-wise, to take the $1,000, live to play another day, right? And just simply move on. But they're racers, they're knuckleheads, they're hard. I was one. Like I get it. And the competitive side of them is like, oh no, I'm here to race. I hope you got some money behind you, because most racers are not extremely well off financially. And for me, that $1,000 would have been a huge deal back in the day. I mean, it would have been a huge deal. Hey, we'll put new tires on for tomorrow. We'll get another run at this deal. I don't get it. Now,
well,
if it were me, if I had a sponsor, right? If I went down there and let's say I was driving for somebody, that decision would have been up to the owner, right? And I would have whatever, if they're happy and they got all the money in the world and they don't care, great, let's go race. We're here to race. But if you're very much a budget racer, I don't know. Myself, the smart money's on taking the 1,000. I don't think you're going to see many people do it. I think you're going to see, it'll be interesting. We'll talk about this next week because there's 4 more events. And it'll be interesting to see. So far, 2 of 2 have taken the back of the feature instead. Do you think anybody out of them next 4 is going to take the 1,000, or do you think they're all going to go to the feature?
They'll probably all go to the feature because I mean they went down there to race, so they're going to race. I understand why they would turn down the $1,000 and go race. But yeah, I mean the financial savvy person would take the $1,000. But if you're in racing, you're probably not that savvy with finances anyway.
You said it, not me, but I agree with you. That's exactly true, because this is another example, right? This whole event is another example of racers can tell you all day long that they're chasing money. They are completely and utterly full of shit. All right. I mean, it is not even close to the case. Bert, I don't know if I sent it to you. Did you actually see the payout for this event?
No.
Okay. Now, I'm going to give you here's a tip. Modifieds, okay? Modifieds. And there's a bunch of them there, right? And a bunch of them traveled a long ways to go there. It is, except for the last, okay, so January 10th and 17th is a little bit increased, but it's only increased really the top few spots, okay? So 4 of the nights is 1,000 to win, 500 for second. 5th place, Bert, $250. 10th place, $125. 11th on back, $100. The X mods, okay, and they have 2 shows that are a little bit more just up top, right? 4 of their shows are 500 to win, $100 for 5th place. 100 for 5th. Soda tracks pay more than that on a regular night. What are they talking about, right? And literally, it is $60 from 24th up to 11th. Are you serious? Right? So that's great. Record car counts, Bert. Record car counts at this event. It's amazing. That's the promoting side of it. Now, if I'm putting my promoter hat on, I'm looking at this going, why in the hell would we ever pay more? There is no reason to ever pay more than this. None. They already got all the cars they need to put on a quality, entertaining show. Any more cars than that, now you're going to add another hour to the program. You don't need that. Right now, it's about perfect. You got all the cars you need, plenty of competition. But I'm a racer, so I can say this, right? We're all a bunch of dumbasses, okay? Like, literally, racers, right? They whine all the time. Oh, they don't pay enough. How, you hear people say, why can't we get more people to travel regionally and follow like the Advantage RV Mod Tour? Well, it just doesn't make sense financially. But then these same knuckleheads will jump in a vehicle and drive all the way to Arizona for 2 weeks for that, okay? So that just shows it's not the money. They're not following. If they're not following a series like the Challenge Series, the Advantage RV Mod Tour, it's not because they're not paying enough. That's not why. It has nothing to do with it. It's because it's not fun enough for them. It really is. Because they're not going down to Arizona because, oh man, we're going to go down there and make a pile of money. It's a fun vacation. This event, the way that they have it formatted, Bert, it's really cool because they race the first 2 nights. Then they got Monday off. If they want to practice Tuesday, they can, but a lot of them take that off, do something with their family, right? So they got 2 days to kind of do stuff. Wednesday they race. Thursday they go, do something with the family. Then they race Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come home. It's more than just a race event down there. It's a lot of people take the family. I saw pictures, Bert, on Facebook of people going, Andy Jones and Craig Loftal, some of these guys, they went skydiving. I'm like, no. Okay. and knowing them guys, they're thrill seekers. Brittany Smith was there. There's a few more. I don't remember who was all, maybe Ayotte. They went skydiving. There is zero chance that this kid is going skydiving, but that was pretty cool, right? So I saw a lot of pictures and Facebook Lives of a lot of these racers down there with their families, with their friends, doing other stuff, kind of making a trip out of it. And really that's what this event's all about. And the way that they formatted it, man, that's just genius. I really think they've done such a good job with that, because when I went to Florida, Bert, I raced down at Speed Weeks, and you'd race like at Volusia. When I went, I think we ran like 7 nights in a row, and then there was like one night off, and you went to East Bay and you ran 4 nights in a row. Well, it was like all racing, and I didn't care. That was fine, but I think that keeps people away from there because it was a ton of work. It's not a vacation; it was a ton of work. And if they have them couple nights off in between there, where hey, honey, you want to come with? We'll make a trip out of it. We're going to race, but on this day, we'll go do something together and kind of make a family trip out of it. And they've promoted that well, right? If you go to the Wild West Shootout page on Facebook, Ben and his team that have put this deal together, they have really promoted it as a unique type of special event. And what's your thoughts on that, Bert, as a race fan?
No, I mean, I agree. You know, they do a great job of providing quality racing, but also providing time for the racers and spectators to decompress a little bit in between some of the shows, give them time to do other things. And, it's kind of become a destination for a lot of racers from the Midwest. I mean, it's, able to get out of the cold for a week and a half to 2 weeks. And, we should mention that one of the Dash winners was Mitch McGrath, who's from southeastern Wisconsin. And
he runs a Pro Power.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, when they asked him if he was going to take the $1,000 or go into the feature, he said he was going to take it easy on Schleiper and go into the feature, so Pro Power could keep their $1,000.
and my buddy Jeff Krause said that I think that they take that $1,000 and it still gets spent, because I think they spread that out to the other 5 guys. I don't know if that's 100% the case or not.
I don't know.
But that's what he said. But yeah, that was pretty. I remember him saying that I'm going to let him keep some of that money in his pocket. I remember something like that. So so it's been a pretty cool event. And let's talk a little bit more about it, because we'll talk about the upcoming events, and we'll just start here. Because obviously it's Wednesday right now. I just posted this online so people can watch it. But so night number 3 is tonight. So if you're watching this during the day on Wednesday, night number 3 is tonight. Then they race Friday, Saturday, Sunday again. Now the question I have, Bert, is this. Okay, my pick to kind of like be on top was Ricky Thornton Jr. Your pick was Jonathan Davenport. 4 races to go. Number 1, okay, I'm going to ask you a 3-part question. Number 1, will anybody else win a feature other than those 2? Number 2, which one of those 2 is going to be the first to get to 3, and will either one of them get to 4?
I'm going to say, just based on the first 2 nights, if you would ask me this question last week, I would have said, there had been more than 2 winners. But based on the first 2 nights, I'm going to say those Davenport and Thornton Jr. win all the races. So there's 4 left, so they win the remaining 4. I'm still going with Davenport winning at least 3, like I said last week. I don't think anybody will get the 4 though.
So you think that it's going to be split 3 and 3?
3, yeah.
And how the Kaiser bonus works, race fan, it's kind of another great addition to what they did to this event. So that Kaiser Manufacturing, heavily involved with dirt track racing, and they have a lot of products out there. They threw up the Kaiser $250,000. If a driver in the late model division was to win 6 of 6, bam, they get a $250,000 bonus. If they win 5 of 6, they get $100,000. If they win 4 of 6, they get $25,000 bonus. And the first driver to get the 3 wins, because they ain't going to give it to 2 of them. The first one to get the 3 wins, if that's the most, they get a $10,000 bonus. So which one of those two is going to be the first of three, 20 RT or the 49?
I'm going to say the 20 RT.
Okay, kind of. I like the way you think. Either one of them two are going to be good. If there was to be a third winner in that deal, I'm going to have to kind of say it's going to be Squirrel, Brian Shirley, especially if the track gets a little choppy or if we get a little weather or something happens to where there's a little bit of moisture in the track, because he absolutely shines if there's just a little bit of attitude to the racetrack. I think he's just, like he's even said, he's just a little off of them top couple when it's super slippery, but he's been running really good down there. Now, in the modified deal, there's some stout competition, whether it's Dustin Strand, Sabraski, Lucas Schott, Rodney Sanders. Dustin Strand, your 2020 Wild West Shootout champion. If you had to pick a winner, who's it going to be to win the series this year?
I'm going to go with the 20 car, Sanders.
Rodney Sanders. And none of these guys are bad picks. I'm a homer, right? So if I were to take somebody, I want it to be one of our northern guys. Strand and Shane Sabraski have both been in the top 5. Strand has a first and a fifth. I think Shane in the modified's got a pair of thirds. So I want to see one of those two guys bring that back where it belongs, up to Wissota country. And in the X-Mod deal, kind of the same deal. You got there's a handful of guys that could win that deal. Is there somebody that you got picked that you think's going to win that X-Mod Wild West Shootout Series championship?
I'll go with Sabraski because Sabraski, I think he's there's no reason why he can't win it.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to pick too. There's some stout competition, but he's so smooth, he's so good, he's so patient that I think that especially in the X-Mod class, people tend to get themselves in trouble a little bit. And I think he's a lot more patient than most. So I'm going to pick the easy one of Shane Sabraski to win that. Now, that's enough with the Wild West Shootout. We'll have a lot more to talk about here on the next episode, as we got 4 events over the next handful of days here. I'm excited to catch that. Of course, that's on Flow Racing. You can catch all the action. Now, Bert, it's also Chili Bowl week. There's already been a couple events in, and I don't really have all the stuff down for Tuesday night show. A little bit happened on Monday night show. We'll get more into the recap stuff, I guess, probably on the next episode. But just on the little bit that you've seen so far, anything stick out to you?
Actually, I haven't seen any of it yet.
Well, perfect. I got a little bit for you. So, a couple things. One thing that's always fun with the Chili Bowl, the drivers might not think so, but I do as a race fan. They got a flip count deal, right, that they do every year. And I know night number 1, they had 7, right? They had 7 get upside down. All the drivers were okay, so that's good. So it'd be kind of cool to see, let's go over and under. Let's kind of do a little fun deal here. So it's what? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 6 events. There's 7 rollovers on night 1. I'm going to go over and under on 50. Do you think it's going to be more or less than 50 for the flip count for the Chili Bowl?
Over.
Okay. And I think I'm going to agree with you there. Now, night number 1, McIntosh, he got in, but second place, a guy that we talked about a little bit on the show, Sunshine Tyler Courtney. But kind of one of the stories of the event there, Bert, was T-Mac. T-Mac there, of course. Everybody knows who T-Mac is, unless you live underneath a rock, right? And he kind of messed up in the heat race. He kind of got himself in a little trouble. He had to go to the C main. He went from the C to the B to the A, and he drove all the way up to the 8th place finish, which should put him in a B main there for Saturday night. Okay, so kind of fun to watch him kind of drive up through the field. And I saw something on Facebook today, of course, with the World of Outlaws starting over in Speed Weeks in Florida. He's actually going to make the trip over to Volusia. He's going to run Thursday and Friday in the late model. He's going to jump on a plane. He's going to fly back. He's going to run the Chili Bowl on Saturday. So kind of a neat deal there for him. But I did not watch anything on Tuesday yet, okay? But I'm going to be watching that. It's Tuesday right now. We're airing the show. It is Tuesday, so we haven't seen anything yet. But the one thing that I saw is there was a yellow flag, or I think it was the end of a race or whatever, and they were just getting ready to go green again for one of the races, and then they threw the red flag and they stopped all the cars. Do you know why they did that, Bert?
Yeah, I saw something on Facebook because a spectator was not wearing their mask.
He was not happy. You can see he expressed his displeasure. He told the camera guy he was number one. Of course, that wasn't directed at the camera guy, but it was overall like, this is my thoughts of this mask deal. We all got our opinions on it. We're all sick of COVID. We're all sick of it. But I mean, come on, dude. Really?
Well,
I mean, we gave away one moron of the week, but I mean, do I think that I'm not even going to get into my opinion on if we need to wear masks or should wear masks or whatever, but there's always got to be that guy, right? Because I can assure you this, as a promoter, right? There ain't one I shouldn't say that. No promoters that I know personally are like, oh man, you have to wear a mask. Like we want it this way forever. They're doing that because the local, regulations in that area said if you want to have this event, you got to wear masks. That's just the way it is. The local government or whatever, whoever the governing body in that area, that's the mandate. Well, they want the show to continue to go on. So if they see somebody not wearing a mask, they have to kick you out. If they don't kick you out, they could come in and say, you know what? You're not taking this deal seriously. Bam, we're going to shut down your whole event. It could happen, right? So if you're in this situation as a fan, a racer, just play by the rules here, right? Because we want to keep racing going. Don't be an idiot, okay? And this guy here I'm guessing, there may have been a little alcohol consumed. that tends to happen. So people kind of do some bold and dumb stuff. This ain't the place to express your opinion on that. Everybody's just trying to put a show on and make it work. There's always got to be that person out there that goes and wrecks it for everybody. What's your thoughts on that, Bert?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, whatever your opinion is, I mean, I have my opinion on the mask, whatever. But my understanding is, like you said, the local health organization or whatever in that area said if you want this event to take place, masks are mandatory. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I mean, if you're a spectator going there, I'm assuming that the rules. So I mean, if you don't like it, just swallow your pride, suck it up. And if you want to see the show, wear a mask. I mean, it's the world we live in now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it just is what it is. And again, it's not the promoter out there saying we need everybody to wear a mask. No, they're being told that in order to keep that show going, they're going to do the best they can to not jeopardize the event, right? You got to all work together. It is what it is. And just, I urge everybody to kind of stick to that. We don't all like it. It is what it is. But just, if you want to keep racing going, you just got to do what you got to do. Now, let's jump in. Let's go back east, right? Because this week, and I found this interesting that they did this, that they scheduled it, but the World of Outlaw Late Models about ready to get underway. The Volusia Sunshine Nationals coming up here this weekend. What is it? I believe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Is that what it is, Bert?
I'm not even sure what the exact dates are.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I could look that up. Now, Bert, 4 classes of late models, hey. They're running the World of Outlaws, the 604s, the 602, and then they're having Florida late models besides. Craziness. Now, there's going to be, I think, first of all, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and I'm going to look something up while you're doing that. With the Wild West shootout going on, of course, there's a pretty stout field of cars there. How do you think the car count's going to look at this Volusia event? And if you had to make a pick, who would it be?
Well, I mean, I think car count could be a little lighter than what it would normally be. Like you said, I mean, the Wild West shootout is taking place right now, and I mean, it's kind of weird they're having this race on this weekend. I mean, you have the Wild West Shootout and you have the Chili Bowl. I mean, yeah, let's just start the World of Outlaw season against these two big events.
It don't make a lot of sense to me on the streaming platform of it, and I get it. I mean, the late models are starting a week or two out, I think a week after that down there at All Tech, the Lucas Oil deal. Kind of a crazy deal, but there are a bunch of guys over that direction that did not make the trip over there. Let's go over and under. I'm gonna put the number at 40. Do you think it's gonna be more or less than 40 of the World of Outlaw late models?
I'm going to go less.
Less than 40. I'm gonna say more. I think you're gonna see more than that because I think there's enough over there in the region. I wondered if you might see a guy like Madden. I think you're going to see Brandon Overton, Whitener, some of them guys. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm actually looking up here, but I'm having internet issues. I think it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Needless to say, that's on Dirt Vision. You can look that up, worldofoutlaws.com. Now, a little bit of news down there, Bert. Okay, let me ask you this. First of all, who's your pick? Who's going to win those events down there?
Well, I'm going to go. I always go for the low hanging fruit. Give me Shepherd.
If you're taking Shepherd, I'm going to take Brandon Overton. That's what I'll take. So I'm looking here. So Saturday the 7th. Give me 1 second here, Bert.
You're not taking Ricky Weiss with his new car?
I'm not. No, let's talk about that because that's going to be interesting. So I just did an interview here with Shane Edgington up in, he got runner up in Wissota late model national standings in 19. Of course, there were no points in 2020. He actually has his first car. So he works with Ricky. Of course, Shane is from Winnipeg. Ricky's from Headingley, which is right by Winnipeg there. So the first car that came out this summer went to Winnipeg. Shane Edgington is going to be driving a car. And right now it's called the Weiss Haley, but they have a name for it. He wouldn't give it to me. He goes, I'm going to let Ricky unveil that. So there is a name, but Ricky's already got a couple cars out there. I know Jeffrey Massengill is going to be getting one. He had a banner year. Now, this is going to be the first true test of how that car goes. What's your thoughts? How do you think that car's? Do you think he's going to come right out of the box bolted? You think he's going to have some learning curve? What is your overall thoughts on that?
I mean, I think there's going to be somewhat of a learning curve. I mean, it's a brand new chassis that they're putting together, so there's going to be some growing pains, some hiccups, but they seem to be a pretty smart group. So hopefully those hiccups don't last very long.
Bert, I'm looking at the schedule here, and it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday for Volusia. So okay. We're right on the money there. And man, I have a feeling. See, Ricky's a pretty sharp cat. J.R. Haley's very smart. They're very well connected. They got a lot of experience. I think they're going to run pretty well down there. I think this is a good test for them. Good, get the bugs worked out. I think they've already did a little bit of testing, from what I understand. Do you think? Okay, there's 3 events. How many of those do you think Ricky Weiss is going to finish in the top 5? This first, I guess, maiden voyage with his new car.
I'll say 2.
2. I'm gonna go with 1. I think he's gonna be a little bit on the outside. I think he's gonna have a little bit of a learning curve. I hope he finishes in the top 5 all 3 because that's our boy from Wissota country here. But I'm gonna say 1 out of the 3. I think if I had to make a pick, like I said, Overton. You got Brandon Shepherd. There's going to be some stout competition there. I'm curious. I haven't seen anything. Well, T-Mac's going, right? He's going Thursday and Friday. He's not going to be there Saturday. A guy has to wonder, are you going to see Chris Madden? Are you going to see Jimmy Owens? Are you going to see Josh Richards? Are you going to see some of that Lucas Oil contingent go down there? That's yet to be seen.
I thought I saw something. I thought I saw something that Owens was going there. I could be wrong, but
okay.
But I thought
it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise. And we know he runs well there. He ran well there. Did he win 3 in a row down there last year?
Yeah, I possibly.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fun to watch. Of course, that's on Dirt Vision. Now, another thing, Bert. Okay, so that's a little bit on the World of Outlaws. Now, interesting news for our Wissota race fans. Jeff Provenzino is going to be racing a 604 late model down there. Okay. So he just got done literally over the last few weeks, just finished it up, a brand new 28 special. And now for all of us that know Jeff Provenzino, he's like me in the fact that he don't sugarcoat nothing. He's pretty darn bold on his opinions and on what he says. Bert, he's going to be driving for the Hunt the Front team. The Hunt the Front team. Very Christian-based group of people, right? Now, this is interesting to me. Is Jeff Provenzino going to turn over a new leaf by hanging out with this group of people? I mean, this guy here, like I said, I mean, he is blunt to the point. Like, he don't take no crap from nobody. And everybody everybody that knows Jeff, he's pretty polarizing in our area. Like, people love him, people hate him. Everybody's got an opinion of him. He's been pretty blunt. I was laughing with him. I was talking to him. I'm like, did you ever think Jeff Provenzino would be driving for that team? He's like, it's kind of funny, ain't it? I'm like, it sure is. So I know, he's heading down there. He's going to run Volusia, come back. I think he's going to go back down, run East Bay again. So it'll be kind of cool. And I got a picture. I posted it here. 2021 is the number. And it'll be pretty cool to see. I don't remember the gentleman's name, the Joyner family, of course. They own that operation, and the boys drive, but the dad owns this car. Jeff's going to be driving it, and great opportunity for him. A lot of people follow that Hunt the Front group. You can check them out on YouTube. They got a great story. It really is. It's a really cool deal. We talked about Joseph Joyner. He won, what was it, at the East Alabama deal? He won that 10 grand to win deal a little while back. But good luck to Jeff Provenzino. You know, looking at this event, I mean, we'll all watch it just because it's the World of Outlaw late models. But, I mean, if I wouldn't know anybody, Bert, in the 604 deal, honestly, I'd probably skip right past it. But now that I know he's racing in it, I'll for sure watch that just to keep an eye on him. Because like you said, it's pretty darn fun watching when you know somebody that's going representing our region. So good luck to Bravo down there. Anything else there on the World of Outlaw event, Bert?
No, it'll just be interesting seeing these three big events competing against each other.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. Now, let's get to the last lap, right? Now, in the last lap, we got a little bit of news, more NASCAR drama. Okay. Bert, did you see anything on that? Haley Deegan?
Yeah, she has to go through sensitivity training because she was again with this iRacing stuff. She was iRacing and she used a word that you're not supposed to use anymore. And this is just like with the masks. This is the world we live in now. You have to be careful what you say. So it is what it is.
I think it's absolutely stupid. Okay, I really do. I'm sick and tired of these politically correct people, right? Going, oh my gosh, you can't say that. That might hurt somebody's feelings. Like literally, like you see somebody that's kind of got that attitude, you just want to punch them in the face, right? I mean, it's like quit being a pain. Like seriously, quit being a snowflake. Are you kidding me? Okay, the word, and I'm going to say the word was retarded. Okay, now I'm telling you, like the mass amount of people in the population of the world at some point have said, man, that's retarded. I've said it on the show. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I've had people text me, oh, you probably shouldn't have said that. And they're probably right. There probably is a better word. It is what it is, right? But there's a huge difference between saying NASCAR's retarded, okay? Because it is. It just is, right? You know, my cam is retarded. Well, you can advance it or you can retard it, okay? So, I mean, the word is a word, right? It's a huge difference between going up to somebody that is mentally handicapped, got real health issues, and saying, oh, that person's this. That nobody thinks that's a good idea. Everybody is like, that's just inappropriate. You don't do that, right? But when somebody's on there and they're not using it in that context, who gives a crap, right? And this is just if they went to a dirt track, I can tell you, like, every single night at the dirt track, somebody is saying that word. It just is what it is, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent. And that's where I'm so sick of NASCAR. It's so stupid. It's like, are you kidding me? And people are like, well, did she get equal treatment? I mean, Kyle Larson got kicked out and lost all of his sponsors because he said the N word. That shouldn't have happened either, right? You know, and I get it. You know, the fact is the N word, should it be used? No, right? You know, obviously not. Should the R word be used? Probably not. I get it. We got to quit making such a big deal about this. If you're going up to a African American individual and you call them the N word, that is the absolute, throw the book at them. That's stupid. That's uncalled for. But when you're using it out of that context, whatever. And I think the N word's probably got more people riled up, I guess, than the R word. But at the end of the day, it's like, really? I mean, NASCAR's got enough issues as it is than to be worrying about this. And is it sad, Bert? We got the Daytona 500 coming up, right? And how much personally, and I'll tell you how much for me, how much banter, talk, how much stuff have you seen online about the upcoming Daytona 500 and and NASCAR at Speedweeks?
You don't see any. I mean, normally I don't know if they have it this year. Normally they have practice in the middle of January. I don't know if they're having that or not.
Isn't that a deal? Like we don't even know what's going on. And then the only one thing that we hear about is, oh, Haley Deegan said the R word. Is it sad that in the NASCAR world with Speed Weeks and Daytona 500 coming up, that we've seen more on that than we've actually seen on all of the racing?
Well, I mean, and actually, I mean, it's based on who my Facebook friends are, but I've seen more news about other asphalt races taking place than the upcoming Daytona 500.
Yeah, it's a sad deal. You know, I got 5,000 people on Facebook, and I don't know if I've seen one post about the upcoming Daytona 500, and that just goes to show that NASCAR is dying, and they're doing it to themselves. So let's move on, and we'll talk about Lucas Oil TV. A little bit of news there. I'll just touch on this really quick. So we have MAV TV, you got Lucas Oil TV, you got all these streaming platforms, but it turns out Lucas Oil TV is going to be no more. They kind of, I think they were already affiliated somehow, MAV TV and Lucas Oil TV, but they're going to have a MAV TV Plus, and that's going to be the app. I think the first 60 days are going to be free, and the Lucas Oil stuff's all going to be on MAV TV Plus. Bert, did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. You know, and I've talked about this on the show before. You know, it's great having all these streaming services, but who can afford to have all these streaming services?
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right. And if you're a diehard fan, if you're watching a lot of racing, if you're doing that, I mean, ultimately it is cheaper than going to the event. I get it.
Right.
But depending on the quality, depending on the region that you're in, I mean, it's just the way it is. It's getting to be that way, and you know, pretty soon we're going to be needing a sponsor just to cover our cost of watching racing on TV. You're right. It's confusing. I think that with so many of them, you know, it's like, well, which one is this on? Is it on Dirt Race Central? Is it on Flow? Is it on MAV? Is it on Dirt Vision? IMCA TV? There's a lot of them out there.
And the thing about the streaming service, you know, on MAV TV, yeah, I mean, you were talking about Lucas Oil TV being associated with MAV TV. I think part of that association is throughout the year they replay Lucas Oil races. So, I mean, I have my DVR set to record all the Lucas Oil races. So every Thursday they play them on Thursday night, so it records. But now that I'm, you know, this is the first year that I'm really watching streaming. So now that I'm watching the streaming of races, it's like these replays come up and it's like, what's the point of watching this? I know everything that's going to happen. We've talked about it on the show. I've watched some of it already. So I wind up just deleting it out of my DVR then.
And I think we're literally a year, 2, 3 years away before we see such a huge change. I mean, I see places like DirecTV, cable companies. I just don't think they're going to be around much longer because there's so many streaming platforms out there that's the way people are kind of watching, whether it's sports or racing or TV or movies or anything in general. Things have really transitioned that way. So it's just another one of those examples how the whole world is really just kind of changing with technology here. So, and that's going to be it's going to be interesting, Bert. And that's why I'm so darn impressed. I really am with the whole event that they put down at the Wild West Shootout. See, a lot of them, it's like, well, they have the race and they might have the announcer talking a little bit, but they've left no stone unturned. It's a true event, like it's an experience online, and I'm kind of looking forward to their what is it Thursday night? I don't know what Thursday night at the races or whatever Dirt on Dirt's going to be doing over the summer, because they do such a good job with it.
Yeah, Short Track in America or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. Them guys do a bang up job down there. Now, Bert, did you see any news? We touched on this a little bit earlier, but I just saw it again, so I want to touch on it again with the USMTS.
Yeah, they announced their schedule, and 26 of the 36 races are going to be 10,000 to win, and the other 10 will be 5,000 to win. But I did find that kind of interesting because two of those races are Masters weekend, but ultimately it's the big 10,000 to win show that is, so I mean, actually you could say that's like a 20,000 to win weekend.
Well, I think it's 5 the first night and 10 the second night.
Oh, I thought it was 5, 5, and 10.
Oh, maybe it is. Maybe they're running Thursday too. Yeah, you're probably right on that. Yeah.
So I mean, that's like a 20,000 weekend if
true.
You look at it that way. But and like you said, we've talked about this on the show, and I know this is what series are doing. They're increasing the purse to win, but I think there's just going to be less track. I mean, I looked at the schedule, and I think the only Wisconsin tracks are Cedar Lake and Mississippi Thunder.
Yeah, this is interesting. I saw a conversation on Facebook. On the racer side, right? You're like, hell yeah, and I've seen racers. Al Uten, for example, he's like, man, this is great, right? And he don't run it, but he's raced for a long time, and he's a racer. And it's like, as a racer, it's like, man, this is awesome. It's more money. On the promoter side, it's like, okay, well, our expenses have just gone up. I don't know how much. If the overall purse, let's say it's another $5,000 or $10,000, let's even call it 5, right? If your overall expense for the event goes up $5,000 as a racetrack, what do you have to do to recoup that $5,000?
You add more divisions.
Bingo! That's where I was going. Right? Yeah, next thing you know, they have more support classes to bring in more people. Pretty soon you got 6 classes of cars at these shows to make it work. That's an option. Another option, of course, is to get a few more sponsors. But in order to make these racing, the seasons go, they're already hitting up their sponsors. And how many times do you keep going back to the well, right? Going, well, we're having another show. You want to throw another few grand at us? And pretty soon it's like these sponsors are going, my goodness, like we just keep giving you money hand over fist. You can only go back to the well so many times, and there's only so many sponsors in the area to be had. So that's a problem. So you look at all that, it's like the expenses got up. The only thing that can happen, and hopefully this is the case, because if they're throwing more money at it, but we just talked about the Wild West Shootout, it's not necessarily about money. In order for there to be more draw, they have to have more nationally recognizable names that appeals to more fans to get them to the racetrack. Are they going to get enough of those names to follow the series that weren't already following it to offset a $5,000 or more increase in the expenses to the racetrack? I don't think so. I just don't see how that's going to happen. So I hope the racetracks can find a way to make it work. A lot of them will, but a lot of people don't understand that it's not, you start throwing more money at that, there's only so much revenue coming in, and pretty soon, how long is it going to last when tracks are going, well, we had that event, we lost 10 grand. We had that event, we lost 5 grand. How many years in a row are they continue to do that? That happened, Bert, with the World of Outlaw late models. I know track promoters in our area that said the value is not quite there. We're not getting enough fans. We lost 10 grand. We lost more than that at this show. We're just not going to do that anymore. We can't afford to take that kind of risk. So hopefully more money means more nationally recognizable drivers to bring in more fans. I hope it all works out, but
I don't anticipate a USMTS mod show in Northeast Wisconsin anytime soon under this format. I spoke about this on the show before. I mean, they made a swing up through Northeast Wisconsin probably 4 or 5 years ago. They raced like 4 different tracks within 5 days or something like that. And by the last race, I mean, there was hardly any crowd at one of the races. And Northeast Wisconsin's already at a disadvantage with USMTS because it's so IMCA heavy, so the locals can't compete with the USMTS cars. So a lot of the locals don't race, and when you don't have the locals racing to draw fans, you know, it's just not a winning formula.
No, and it's different. And I'm a mod guy. I love modified racing. I really do. And if you're in the know, if you like modified racing, of course you know who Rodney Sanders and Jake O'Neill, and you know them guys, right? But the casual fan, they're just it's just not a nationally recognizable name. That's the difference between the national series for the dirt late models, the national series for the World of Outlaw sprint cars, right? That's the difference there. I mean, you take people like Donnie Schatz, Scott Bloomquist, Brandon Shepard, right? You take those names, they're nationally recognizable names. So when those series come to your track, it's like, hey, this is a big deal. Nothing against Rodney Sanders and them guys. They're extremely talented race car drivers, but I just don't feel like they have enough pulling power to fill the grandstands to make this kind of deal work. And I think part of the reason why, Bert, is the USMTS is kind of down the center part of the country, right? It's typically central, so you don't really get, it's not national, and I think that's the issue with that. Hopefully they make it work. I really do, but I guess we'll find out later on in the year. So one show that I am excited about, Bert. No, before we get into that, has the Discount Shop Towels Dirt King Series schedule come out yet for 2021?
The schedule has not been released yet. I did see a press release where they announced that Discount Shop Towels was returning as the main sponsor. And there was a sentence in that press release stating that they were going to, I believe it was going to be a 15 race season at 9 different tracks, but specific dates and tracks have not been announced yet.
Okay. And I'm kind of curious about that. Congratulations on them getting that sponsorship back again for 2021. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those races here this year. But WISSOTA didn't announce it, but it's going to be a WISSOTA event on August 13th, Bert. It's going to be the largest single day, because there's been multiple shows that are 2-day events, but it's the largest 1-day event in the history of WISSOTA late model racing. I'm excited for that. And I'm talking about the 5th annual Mater Memorial. It's going to be held at the Red Cedar Speedway in Menominee, Wisconsin, for 15,555 going to go home with the winner at that event. I'm jacked up, and I'm really hoping that the Discount Shop Towels Dirt Kings Tour does not have an event on that night, because I would love to see some of them guys with that kind of money on the line. Okay, because I believe it's $455 to start. It's solid all the way through. With that kind of money on the line, most of them guys are WISSOTA legal anyway. I could see maybe a Nick Anvilink or a Berna or a Springborn, or some of them guys going, you know what, we're WISSOTA legal already. Let's head over there for this event. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I believe Nick Avalink and Brett Swedberg did race in the first uh, Mater Memorial race. So hopefully Dirk King's is not scheduled for a race that night. I know they have scheduled races against the Mater in the past, so I'm hoping that you know everybody looks at the schedules and realizes it's best for the drivers to give them the opportunity to race in this race if they want to. Because yeah, I mean, I've been clamoring for East versus West forever. So I mean, and with this high paying race, this might be your best opportunity for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when there's that kind of money on the line as a race fan, anybody involved with racing, in a perfect world, you want to see 50 late models show up to that. Last year it was, I believe was it 5,555, I think it was, to win. And of course, a rookie, now no rookie to winning races, but Kevin Buzzy Adams got her done on his home turf there at the Race Lake Speedway, which was super cool. I just love Buzzy. I call him the human highlight reel. But they only had like 20-ish cars. I don't remember if they even had a B. They only had like 24 cars, or it was really light. I think maybe weather played a point, because I think they did have a rain delay in that deal as well. So I think that maybe scared a few people away. But late model drivers, okay, when somebody's willing to go put this kind of money on the line and say, you know what, I mean, and Dwayne Mater, I mean, if you race late models for a long time, everybody knew him. The guy's a great guy, great racing family, but support this race, right? I mean, there's only so many opportunities to race for real money, and this is also a structural. From what I understand, this is going to be a structural buildings with sort of late model challenge series event also, which to me is interesting. I was surprised that they were going to do it as a challenge series event, but it makes sense for the racetrack, especially, to do that, because if they're going to have a challenge series event, why not make it on your biggest special? And I know like Hibbing does that at the Labor Day Shootout. Proctor does that at the Silver 1000. Grand Rapids does that at the Wasota Classic. So I guess that does kind of make sense, but I really want to see this deal work out good. I mean, them guys, I know that Bulldog and them guys down there are really working their tails off to make this a big deal. And I really hope it goes off well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do believe that I don't know if all the Mater Memorials were Challenge Series races. I know the first one was because I went to the first one and I interviewed Steve Larson prior to the races for an article for a magazine, for Dirt Late Model magazine, and we talked about the Challenge Series, and he was, I believe, in first place in points at that time, but he had a wreck in the feature, so he wasn't in first place after the race. But yeah, I mean, the Maters are, yeah, I mean, if you know anything about racing, you've heard the name Dwayne Mater. I mean, even in Eastern Wisconsin, he'd come to Shawano and he'd put on a butt whipping on the local boys. I mean, he won at least two, if not three, 2000 to win specials at Shawano Speedway that I can remember. So, I mean, he wasn't just a Western Wisconsin driver who was good in Western Wisconsin. I mean, wherever he raced, he was good. So, it'd be great, to have as many drivers support the event as possible.
Absolutely. And I'm going to close with this. I saw news today posted on Facebook that Pat and Patsy Willis, owners of Hoosier Tire North, Rogers, Minnesota, have officially retired from their involvement with Hoosier Tire North. They have sold that now to their son, Scott Willis, and the guy that basically ran the place. I think it's Blake Fulmer. I think it's Trent's brother, I think is what it is. But they are the new owners of Hoosier Tire North. And I want to congratulate Pat and Patsy on such I guess, a long tenure in dirt track racing. They were heavily involved with the beginning of Wasota. They've helped a lot of series, a lot of tracks, a lot of drivers. And I know as a racer, and all of us racers, right, you're always down on Hoosier. Oh, the tires suck and this and that and the other. But I can tell you this, that Wasota, they've kind of had some issues along the way. And there's been multiple times where Hoosier Tire North, specifically Pat and Patsy Willis, have stepped up to the plate and actually financially help Wasota stay afloat, right? A lot of people don't know that. They didn't need to do that. Yeah, they make money off the tires and all that. That's fine, right? But somebody's gonna, whether it's them or anybody else, they're just a distributor, right? They're not the ones making the tire, but they were also heavily involved with the beginning of WISSOTA. So just hats off to Pat and Patsy Willis. Great people, great ambassadors to the sport. Good luck on moving forward, and good luck to the folks that are taking it over. So, with that said, Bert, that's episode 62 in the books. I'm jacked up. I'm going to be jumping on. I'm going to be catching lots of racing this week, with especially the Wild West Shootout and Volusia. Which sticks out to you the most? What are you the most excited for?
I'm most excited for watching the rest of the races of the Wild West Shootout. I've watched the first two, and that's got my attention right now. So I should also mention that we didn't talk about him, but Jason Fager's he had a really good showing the first two nights. He did fall back a little in the feature in the first race because he bent a shock. But I mean, he's been good in qualifying, won a heat race, been up there. So, driving the MB Custom, he's doing pretty good this year.
Yeah, it's good to see one of them MBs up front. Jimmy, not quite. He was okay the second night, not real good the first night. I think he's going to turn that around. Looking forward to seeing Mars maybe crack off a few top fives down there. But yeah, I'm jacked up for that. I'm excited to watch a lot of guys that I'm familiar with, watch them race and enjoy the warm weather where we should be. So with that said, Bert, always a pleasure chatting with you. Let's take in some races, so we have plenty to talk about next week. And race fans, I hope you enjoy the show with all the craziness going on in the world right now, and political and this and that. We're hoping to give you a little bit of an escape from that, to where you can just listen to racing. Hopefully it's entertaining enough to where you're like, you know what, I can take an hour and a half of my day and listen to this. It's a lot better than watching the news. And hopefully we provide that escape for you. So again, I'm Ryan Aho. That's the Bert Lehman. And as Puka always says, go out there and be your dream. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go show.